All right, looks like we're live. See if we can get a few people to join here. Out here on the St Croix River, trying to catch sturgeon. This is probably one of the hardest times to do a live stream just because everybody's working, but it works out well for me. Man, it takes a long time to get this set up. I got my laptop, my hotspot connection here. I got to get out my whole setup here, batteries and charging and cameras. But then once it's set up, it works pretty well. It's just kind of a long process, but it's fun. I kind of enjoy it. Something to keep me company while I'm here, sitting on the ice. The other thing that's kind of hard is I don't really get any feedback as far as if audio, video is coming through good. Only what I'm seeing here. So hopefully everything's coming through okay. Man, what a beautiful day out. It's a little chilly, but man, it's sunny. And I had to turn the heater on low. I took my bibs off. I was getting pretty hot in here. It's amazing what that sun will do out here. Not used to that when I'm out here in the evening or nighttime. Sun goes down, it's just the opposite. It's even colder than what the temp is. But that sun's really beating down on me today. All right, we got a few people joining in here. I'd like to catch a big sturgeon for everybody. We'll see how it goes today. So what I'm doing, one rig I have crawlers on, and one rig I have only minnows on. So we'll see if it makes a difference. I'm not convinced it makes a difference or not. They're only, 4 feet away. So, a lot of times it just depends which side they come in on, and they're just going to eat the first available thing. I don't think they're super picky. They just want to eat. They find food and they eat it. So it will be interesting to see if one comes in from either side and passes up the bait available and then goes to the next bait, though. I have seen setting up here, I have seen a few fish move through, so I'm fairly confident at least we'll get one to come through and maybe get hooked up. Just as I was setting up, just as I put my very first rod down, there was one down there, and I thought I was going to catch one here before I even had a camera set up or anything, and it just kind of swam off. It was a smaller one, though, so I wasn't too bummed. Probably just a 30-incher or so, which is fine. I'll take a 30-incher. But now that we got the camera rolling and on live, let's go for the 50 or 60. I also thought I was set up a little shallower. Right now I'm in 35 feet, and I'm right by the break on the shoreline, kind of the first break. And I kind of wanted to get up on that break just a little bit, but and I should have checked. I could have put the live scope down and checked. I was just too lazy. I set up and hoped I was in the right spot. And I don't think I'm too far away. In fact, I could probably turn that live scope and see. I think I'm pretty close to the break. And again, I'm not sure that matters a whole lot either. Sometimes I'm as far away from the break as you can be out there in the middle of the channel and catch them there. Sometimes you catch them right next to the break. One thing I have found is kind of if you get up into that shallower water, you are seeing, a bunch of other fish too, which I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, but just a little more things coming through on the screen. I am seeing the last few nights out here, we've been seeing fish. It looks like they're about, 15 to 20 inches, and they're all over the screen. I don't know what they are. They're really fast. I mean, they're in and out, and they're coming through in, groups of 5 to 10. Sometimes they're really tightly grouped. Sometimes they're just spread out, and I'm not sure what they are. I'm guessing they're either moon eye or white bass, maybe large gizzard shad. Some of those shad that have survived the last couple of years have gotten to that, 12 to 15 inch range. So it could be just gizzard shad. I know people have been catching moon eyes out here too. So Maybe one of these days I'll actually put a bait down and try to catch them, but that kind of seems to distract me more than anything, and a lot of times they won't bite anyways. So, but I guess if you're out here and you're bored, you could, you know, throw down a little tungsten jig or something and maybe catch one of them. G-Bro, thanks for checking in, South Bend, Indiana. You guys got ice down there? I imagine you have. It's been pretty cold for a while here. You should have some ice to walk out there. South Bend, home of Notre Dame, right? I believe. I've been through there a few times. One of the guys I fish with all the time grew up in Fort Wayne, so I hear about that area quite a bit. Pretty quiet on the screen here for the most part. Not seeing a whole lot of fish moving through. I was kind of torn whether I should come out here in the morning to mid-morning or come out in the afternoon and fish the evening bite. I kind of like, most of my guide trips are in the evening, so I kind of like to come out here in the morning just to get a feel of, you know, if it's worth, you know, maybe kind of prioritizing the morning bite instead, if it's better. I haven't found a significant difference either or. What it seems like, there's a window every day, you know, and that window kind of changes day to day. So some days that window will be early morning, some days will be midday, some days will be later in the day. And I wish I knew what triggered that. I just never have really figured that out. If it's maybe barometric pressure or weather systems, or maybe even solar lunar. I did notice, I have been looking at this hunting fishing solar lunar app just to keep an eye on it. And today it's saying it's good. And right now we're in the very peak of the day. So right now should be our best chance of seeing some action according to this app. I mean, it's saying 78% good. And I guess that would be a major. We're in a major right now. And then there's another major 11 o'clock tonight. So that's why I was kind of looking between those two. Honestly, don't know if it makes it different or not, but gives you a little bit extra confidence, I guess. Yeah, Kong, I've been out here in the evening as well and catching some fish, so it's hard to say. I saw a post yesterday that a guy caught a, you know, looked like a 60-incher at 10 a.m. yesterday morning. So like I always tell people, you just keep lines in the water. Whenever you can go fishing, just go out there. Rain, snow, wind. If you got time, come out here. Go Irish, yeah. They didn't quite make her all the way through there, right? They were were they in the championship this year? They were either in the semifinals of the championship. I don't remember. I'm not a big college football fan. I did watch Super Bowl last night though, and that was pretty interesting. That's what I was, you know, kind of predicting myself. It was either, you know, KC was going to win a close one or the Eagles were going to blow it out. And man, they sure did blow it out, didn't they? That was pretty impressive. Yeah, I got these fish coming through here again, whatever they are, these 20 inchers. They just come in and out, and then they're gone. Looks like we got 20 people in here now. Thanks for joining. Hanging out with me for a little bit here on St. Croix. If you have any questions, let me know. I do guide trips out here throughout the winter. And my off days, I just try to get out here and fish as well. This live stream, I've done a few of these live streams now, and it kind of keeps me entertained a little bit while I'm out here waiting and waiting and waiting. One thing nice about coming out here on the weekday morning is you got your choice of any spot you want to fish. There's very few people out here. So definitely less pressure, probably during the night too, but I think even more so during the weekday morning. There's, you know, maybe 10% of the people out here than they're out here on the weekend. Now we just got to catch one. Last week, I actually, if any of you saw my posts I made on Facebook, I took a ride up to Big Stone Lake, and that was an interesting experience. It's about a 3-hour drive for me. I live in Jordan, so just straight west. And I really didn't know anything. I've never been there before. I stopped at Artie's there, the bait shop, talked to a gal there, and she wasn't a whole lot of help just because there's not a lot of people sturgeon fishing there. You know, it's just starting to come on. People are starting to catch them, and I just don't think there's a whole lot of information. But what really did help is her telling me which launches or ramps were safe to drive off of, or maybe some trouble areas. Might get myself in trouble since I was going to drive my truck out. So I went off the, gosh, now I forget now. I think it's the Highway 68 or the Highway 78 ramp, and essentially just drove right out into the middle of the channel. I didn't want to go bahaing all over the place just in case there was some bad ice or something. And I got set up, and it was fairly early in the morning. Got my baits down. It was 14 feet of water. Put my baits down, sat and waited, and I had a few really nice fish come through, and for sure one or two of them was you know, probably a 50-incher, and they just wouldn't eat. And sorry, I'm a little distracted. I do have a fish down here right now. He's going to this left side. The left side has the crawlers on it. We'll see if he hits this one. It's not very big fish, maybe a 30-incher. If that. It's definitely a sturgeon, though. I wish I had a camera feed on the screen so you could see, but he's right on this one. Oh, he just turned around. I must have got his attention. He's right on it right now. Oh, he went by. Now he's going over to this one. Be interesting if he comes and hits these minnows here. Oh, now he just went off screen. That's a good sign. Got a fish coming through here. What's interesting about this live scope is the beam is so narrow. So when you're seeing them, they're essentially directly under you, and then they disappear. So it means they're swimming, you know, to the front of you or to the back of you. And a lot of times they'll come back here, they'll circle around, or they'll go up in front, circle around a little bit, and then they'll just come back in out of nowhere. So I do think that they're, you know, actively searching. Could be that they're just roaming around too, but I do think they're looking for that bait. They get a little bit of scent. So I think scent is a big factor. And that's why when I see them, you know, I'll just kind of knock that weight into that mud down there and kind of disperse some stuff around just to give them a little helping hand. But it looks like this one is gone for now. Gee, bro, I am in Minnesota, around the Minneapolis area, just on the border of Minnesota and Wisconsin on the St Croix River, fishing for sturgeon. Kong, the season goes through March 1st, so you can fish all the way to 11:59 on March 1st, and then the season closes. And then it opens up, gosh, I want to say June or July. I get confused because it's a little different between like the Rainy and the St. Croix. But gosh, I think it's June, middle of June, middle of July. One of the two, vice versa. One opens in June, one opens in July. And then it's catch and release all through there again until you get to September and October. And then you can buy a tag and keep one out here if you catch one. And the minimum length out here is 60 inches. So, like I said, you buy the tag, you got to tag the fish, you got to register the fish through the DNR. Honestly, if I wanted to keep a fish and eat it, I would go up to the Rainy River. The season up there is much longer. There's a better opportunity, and also the slot is a little more liberal. It's 45 to 50 inches. So if I was going to eat one, I'd just go up there and catch one. I think the population overall is just much bigger up there too. That's why they allow more fish to be harvested. Oh yeah, Chippewa Falls. So funny, interesting story about that. We caught a tagged fish up here this fall, not too far from here actually. And normally the tags don't travel too far around. You know, we report them. They're like, oh, that one was caught, last year, 5 miles or 3 miles away from you. Well, we caught one, and it turned out it was tagged in Eau Claire on the Chippewa River. And it went all the way down the Chippewa River, all the way down to the Mississippi south of Lake Pepin, all the way through Lake Pepin, up the Mississippi River, and then now all the way up the St Croix River. So I want to say that was probably a couple 100-mile journey. And I'm not sure if it had to go through any lock and dams on that. Yeah, probably through Red Wing. Yeah, went through that one. So kind of a long voyage. And then we did catch another one a few years ago, just upstream from here. And that one was tagged up in Yellow Lake. So that's by, I think, Danbury, maybe. So that one came all the way down the river, hit the St. Croix, came all the way down the St. Croix River over Taylor's Falls there. And then we caught it down here, which was another probably a couple 100 miles. Seeing a few flashes down there. I think that fish is gone probably that we were just marking, but there's something coming in and out of the beam down there. And that's how it is. A lot of times you just sit here and look at the screen and there's nothing for the longest time. You can sit here for hours. Then all of a sudden, bang, there's a big one just appears out of nowhere. So it's a waiting game. I tell people it's more like hunting than it is fishing. Not a whole lot of activity. I recommend bringing other forms of entertainment, maybe. Some cards, a tablet, your phone, music, whatever. I'm really surprised how warm it is out here, given the temperature. Like, I would say after the sun goes down, this temperature, I got this heater on medium or high, and I'm overheating and it's on low. I took my bibs off and everything. I got a fan going. Actually, I pointed the fan at me. I was overheating so much. I also picked up a new rod. I picked up this Mud Puppy tackle. It's a 42-inch. I think they call it the Church. It's got a kind of a nice handle on it, kind of a hybrid cork and foam. Got a nice long handle. For the price, I forget what the price is, $40-50. It's a decent rod. I really like it. I would use another one for sure. I'd recommend someone buying them. I do have these Wolfram custom rods too that I've been running those for 4 or 5 years now, and those are rock solid. I've caught a lot of fish on these, even through the open water, and I would recommend it. If you can get one, get one. I've heard that maybe he's quit making these, so you might not be able to get them anymore. And you are paying a little more premium because they are higher quality and custom handmade. So, you were looking at maybe $100 or $110 for one of those. But I think these Mud Puppy tackle rods are pretty nice. We did catch one. Let's see. We did catch one Saturday night on that rod. It was maybe a 30-incher, so it didn't put it to a big test, but we did get it broken in. Pike, man, the scent question comes up a lot, and I think it does make a difference. My problem is I sometimes get worried that the scent I'm putting on there might be something that turns them off. Like, I know crawlers and minnows emit a natural scent, so that's obviously going to be good. But if I'm putting something synthetic on there or man-made, is that going to maybe detract them, turn them off? So I do get a little worried about that. I will show you here. I do have this. When I picked up this rod, Mud Puppy Tackle also has these rigs. They call them squeezies or something like that, I think it's called. Let's see if we can focus on there. But basically, it's just scent infused beads, and they actually come with a little colored sinker too, which is kind of mostly for show, I guess. I don't think it matters if your sinker's colored, but it is a nice little package that all comes together with the hook and the beads and everything, and it comes with a little needle to thread it through. But I think these are garlic or anise scent infused, so maybe it makes a difference. I'm up for trying it. We'll see. They are glow beads too, and I'll show you. I do use this little Rapala box that you can just put it right inside here, and then you turn on the light. It kind of keeps it enclosed, and you glow it up. I just let it run for, I don't know, 10 or 15 seconds. And these beads will keep that glow on there pretty long. You don't have to charge them up, maybe every hour or something like that. So yeah, that's, I think it's called squeezies, they call that. $5 or $6. Not too bad. You don't go through a lot of these rigs out here. You're not losing much or getting snagged up or anything. And I know a fish will eat that, because like I said, we caught a fish Saturday on this exact rig. So it's convenient if you're just looking to pick something up and you want a rod and terminal tackle. You can get all that on Mud Puppy. Three hours northwest of Thunder Bay. Yeah, that's probably a long drive for you if you're in Indiana. So that would be in Ontario, I'm guessing, right? There's some great lakes up there. I do have something coming in here on this right side. Looks like he's coming in from the back, maybe. Catch mud puppies out here too. Don't catch a whole lot during the day, from my experience. It seems like that 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. hour, they really go crazy. There's times we can't keep them off. It's kind of fun to catch if you've never caught one before. Like, I take quite a few people out who have never caught a sturgeon or have been out here on the St. Croix or even ice fished before. And gosh, you pull up a mud puppy and they have no idea what that thing is. It kind of gets them by surprise. So it's kind of fun to show it off and tell them a little bit about them, but then they just kind of become a nuisance at that point. And what really torques me off is when you got a big fish coming through and now you have a mud puppy down there, chomping on your bait and kind of stealing your opportunity to catch that big sturgeon. Wow, that's a long ride. 18 hours and 30 minutes of float plane. Probably got some great fishing up there, huh? How big a sturgeon through a 10-inch hole? It's a little variable depending how fat the fish is. So a 10-inch hole, if you use a little bit of geometry, it's 32 inches around. The circumference is just over 32 inches. So a 32-inch girth sturgeon is massive. In fact, I think the biggest one I've ever caught is maybe 31 inches. You don't see very many sturgeon that are going to go over 30 inches in girth, at least around in this area. The problem is they have these big pec fins, right? And they're almost like airplane wings. And that's what you kind of have issue is getting through that hole. So that's why a lot of times guys will drill 2 10-inch holes just to give you a little more real estate for those big fins. I just got something coming through here now. Another smaller one. A lot of 24-inch size fish here. I don't know if they're the one I'm looking at now. I don't think is a sturgeon because it's suspended, maybe 2 feet off the bottom. But I also do have another one coming through on the bottom from the right side that also looks about the same size too, though. What I like to see is you have this, big orange line at the bottom representing the bottom, and these fish will just come through a bright kind of orange mark depending on the color you're using, your color scheme. It looks like they're just plowing that mud. You see a orange fireball in the mud. And that's what I really like to see. They're kind of in the feeding mode when you're seeing that. Every once in a while, we'll have a suspended fish come down from midway and drop down onto us and then bite one of our baits. But most of the time, they're coming through right on the bottom, scrounging around. Yeah, I would recommend if anyone's going to come out here and do this I would use a 10-inch auger and probably drill overlapping holes kind of in my suggestion is the most oval shape you can make. Now, it's not as easy as it sounds. If you can do half and half perfectly, then you get almost a perfect oval. But especially like now when we have, 20 plus inches of ice, it's hard to drill straight holes and keep them overlapped just perfectly. So a lot of times you'll end up more with a peanut shaped, or sometimes you think you're doing good, but both holes end up funneling into one because it's just so hard to drill it straight. So it's a learning process. And even after drilling thousands of sets of holes, I still struggle a bit. I have an Ion Ultra, and that helps a lot because it has a lot of torque and it has a variable trigger, which I can kind of really slow the speed as I'm getting that hole started. But it's still not perfect. Some guys that have 8-inch augers, which I used to do all the time too before I got a 10-inch, and you drill a set of 3 holes almost like a pie shaped or triangle, or people call them like a Mickey Mouse because they look like Mickey Mouse with the ears. And I think even you could get away with a triple 10-inch too if you wanted to do the extra work. That will eliminate that little confluence of the 2 holes that you overlap. If you drill a 3rd hole, now you're making it more circular. I think a 12-inch auger would be ideal. If someone would make a 12-inch auger, then you could just drill 1 hole every time. I don't think you would need anything much bigger than 12. Yeah, pikeman. Funny you say that because there's several people I know that are, specifically fishing Pepin, and they're doing pretty well down there. So I would say if you're closer to Pepin than you are to the St. Croix here, that might be a better option for you. I think most people are going off that, I forget what the popular ramp is there right in town. But I think they're just going out kind of mainly where the walleye guys are fishing out there and catching some nice ones. So, and I was talking to the Wisconsin DNR, and they were saying a lot of the population from the Chippewa River spend a lot of time down there in Pepin. So those fish in Pepin, a lot of those are, you know, Chippewa River residential fish. So, and there's some big ones down there. And you can get some nice ones on Pool 4 as well, you know, this time of year. So even in the open water, you could take a boat out there. You can get out there and catch some. So there's a lot of opportunities for sturgeon, and it's getting better and better every year. I didn't finish my big stone story. So I went up there, got set up. Like I said, I saw some nice fish, 14 feet of water, but get nothing to bite. And then the sun came up a little higher, and everything just went dead. Not even a tiny little blip or anything. And I spent hours looking at nothing. And I was chatting with a friend on my phone. He was asked how clear the water was. And, you know, I didn't even think to look. I never even looked down the hole or anything. So I peeked down the hole, and it's crystal clear, like as clear as you can imagine. I can see my bait perfectly in 14 feet of water. And I even looked to the side. I could see both baits down the hole. And, you know, at a high sun, and I was like, yeah, this is not probably going to be very good. If I can see those baits so well, you know darn well those fish are probably seeing the holes or the line or, you know, whatever. They're probably a little shy. So had I known that, I would have planned my trip a little differently. I would have been, you know, probably the twilight hour, sunset, and then fished a couple hours into dark, because I think you probably have a little better opportunity catching them up there in low light periods, since that water's just so clear. Any little thing is probably going to spook them a bit. And then with vehicle traffic and everything else, like, it was a tough deal. So if I go back again, I will time that differently. But they are catching some really nice ones up there, and they're growing pretty fast. I've seen some, you know, 50 to 60 inchers that people are catching. One of the interesting things I noticed was that they're growing so fast that the scoots on them are still sharp. And you catch a 40-inch fish out here, and they're worn smooth already. You don't hardly feel the scoots. Those are just the kind of the pointy little edges along their body that they use for kind of self-defense when they're smaller. But those fish up there still have pretty sharp ones, and they're, you know, 50 inches already, which means they're growing pretty fast, which is a good sign. And also, someone said that it may be a little different strain that they stocked in there too. They took those fish from a river in Wisconsin, maybe. So maybe they just have a little bit different genetics. But Big Stone is coming on. Ottertail is another area you can go to catch them. St. Louis River, you can go to catch them, just right near Duluth there. Obviously, the Rainy River is a great place to catch them. Red River is going to be another new spot. They're starting to stock them in the Red River, so people will start catching them up there, I would guess, within the next 10 or 15 years. And I think I did read that they're putting them into Red Lake too. So people might start catching them out there on Red Lake while they're catching, you know, walleyes and crappies. Prairie, yeah, that's another question that comes up quite often too, is the foul hooked fish. It does happen when you're fishing straight down like this, and because we're using a treble hook, I use treble hook, it seems to happen maybe a little more frequently. There's really no good way to tell if they like ate your bait or if they swam into your bait. What do we got here? Oh, we're losing my mic. I'm gonna have to change mics. But anyways, when they're coming through, sometimes they'll just swim into your line. So I was talking earlier about their large fins. You know, they're kind of swimming. They're like airplane wings coming through the water. So obviously they're going to clip that line as they're swimming through. And sometimes they'll get it, what I would call kind of like the armpit or whatever. Sometimes they'll slap it with their tail as they come by. Other times you'll get it, in the nose or the fin area, as it comes through and you're feeling for a bite. What I've found, probably the biggest tell for me when we're watching for a bite is your bobber actually moves up a little bit. When your bobber moves up a little bit, that's them. They just suck that bait in. And especially if it turns over and lays on its side, I set the hook right away because that bait's in the mouth. So if you really want to kind of wait it out to make sure that they took the bait, you know, use that bobber as an indicator and it'll actually pop up. And sometimes it's real slight, you know, it comes up an inch and it just stays there. So if you're not watching it, you might miss that. All right, I'm going to change my mic here and see if that works. Might lose my face tracking. Apparently I didn't charge my mic up. Go with the white one. Hopefully this one will connect. There we go. Turn this one off. This one connected. Yeah, we're good there. All right, back in business. Maybe. There we go. I got my Lucky Sturgeon shirt on too. Did it still tracking me? Yeah, there we go. Still tracking me. Oh shoot, there's a fish down there. Of course, whenever you get distracted like that, the fish comes in. So I got one about 4 to 5 feet off this right side. It looks pretty big too. It's over 40 inches. Let's see if we can get him to come in. Cross your fingers. He's slowly moving in. So I'll kind of stir up the bottom here a little bit, see if I can get his attention. Got some snowmobile traffic out here. I would guess the people that own those want to get out riding, since there's quite a bit of snow out here actually on the river. There's probably 6 inches of nice powder. That fish went off the screen. See if he'll come back. Full Moon Wednesday. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with that full moon. When I see it's a full moon, when I'm out on the open water in the boat, I don't know. I've had a really hard time, especially a full moon, clear, calm night. It seems fishing is really slow. It does seem like you can catch, the fish you catch are bigger, so you got a chance of catching a really big fish during a full moon night, but overall action, in my experience, is much slower, both with catfishing and sturgeon fishing. And of course, it varies time to time, but overall, if you tell me it's full moon, nice clear night, I'm not super stoked about it. "26 people on. Thanks for joining. Out here trying to catch sturgeon. It's a waiting game, unfortunately. Not a lot of entertaining things going on to do a live stream, but I just kind of like to get on here every now and then, answer some questions. People are sending me or messaging me questions all the time, so it's a good opportunity for me to answer a bunch of them all at once. Would be nice to catch a nice one here though on live stream. The last two I've done, we actually did catch one, so that was cool. One of them we were only like 10 minutes in and we caught one. So, and the first stream I did a couple weeks ago, everything was going great, and I have my my camera set up and I wanted to show everyone the screen, and I still might do that. I might show it just to show people what we're looking at here, but the cord, I have this tethered to my laptop here with a USB cord, and it caught my boot, and my camera went down, and then ploop, of course, right into the hole. It's like those holes have magnets in them. So yeah, that I did lose that camera. So that was a $600 oops. Unfortunately, they're not waterproof. The camera I'm using isn't waterproof. So I probably should be using a GoPro, because they're pretty indestructible, and you can get them wet and fall in the water. But I'm using a DJI Pocket 3 right now, and it's got a gimbal, so it's really stable, and it's got this tracking if I move around. So if I come up here and catch a fish, you can see me catching that fish. So I do like it, and it's got a 1-inch sensor, so it is really a better picture, especially during low light. Connects right up to these mics, so it's a better option. Just a little more expensive if it falls in the hole. Yeah, I probably should have a snack. That's a good point. Whenever you start eating, you get a bite. Or if I get a phone call, sometimes I get a phone call and you get a phone fish. I did bring some. I don't have much for snacks. I think I got some venison jerky I could crack open. But unfortunately, it's definitely a waiting game out here. It seems like overall for me, the bite has been pretty solid this year. We've had good ice, so we've been able to go pretty much everywhere we wanted to, try different spots, drive with our trucks out where we want to go. I think I was just doing, because people like to talk about the skunk rates, how often you get skunked when you come out here on a trip. And so I was looking back through my numbers, my guide trips and my personal trips, and it looked to be about 15% skunk rates. So that, to me, that's pretty good actually compared to other years. I think I've had 2 or 3 skunks out of all my trips. So, and sometimes I end up getting a little stubborn, like I don't want to take a skunk, so I'll just wait out here till I catch a fish, and then it doesn't count as a skunk. So that does skew the results a little bit. But I have heard, others talking about, a 50% skunk rate, and you can definitely get into that if you're only doing, 4 trips a year or something. Seems like maybe the more time you spend out here, that the numbers get a little more accurate. I think, if you come out here a lot, 25 to 30% is probably a reasonable number to expect. One out of every 4 trips you're going to get skunked. And I also think you can kind of skew those numbers a bit if you maybe go areas to where you think you're only going to catch bigger fish versus some community areas, or like if you come out here in the middle of the channel, I think you have a better chance of catching a smaller fish. Like right now, I'm set up fairly close to a break, hoping that maybe I'll catch a bigger fish. It does seem that if you're getting into those shallower areas, just my opinion, I think you have a better chance of catching a bigger fish, just not as many. But there are days, you can knock it out of the park fishing shallow too. Well, as of now, the minnows and the crawlers are tied. 0-0. I'm not certain if I catch one on either or the other, if one's going to be a winner or not. But we'll declare it a winner if that's all we catch is one fish. I got a couple fish here now that are suspended, 5 feet off the surface. Maybe I could show that to you. Let's try it. See what we can do without dropping the camera.